are you? Merry Christmas. I said that to the kids before. I didn't say it to you. So Merry Christmas. It's great to see so many of you here. It's great to see family come and visitors join us. Such a great time of year. And I truly, truly do love this place at Christmas time. Could also be because I'm overtired. You know, it's been a big week. But no, it's fantastic. So we want to talk to you about home very quickly this morning. And I will admit that many of these thoughts come from a message I heard Bill Hybels teach. If you know Bill Hybels, from a year or two ago. So there you go. Many of these ideas came from him. And as I prepare messages, I listen a lot to a lot of messages around the area that I preach, and I read the scriptures and I research. And those things that truly do touch me and move me in ways I pull together and I bring to you. So this morning I want to talk about home. Home. There are few words in the English language as evocative and emotional as home. Think about it for a moment. If you say the word home to someone whose parents who neglected or abused them as a child, you better brace yourself for a difficult conversation. If you talk about home with a widow or a widower whose deepest relationship has been broken by the death of the one they love the most, you better be prepared for a difficult conversation. If you talk about home right now with any one of the 7 million Syrian refugees right now, you better be prepared for tears and sobs. And we need to pray for peace in that situation, for God to move and bring home to that place. If you say the word home, however, to someone who had, relatively high-functioning parents and marginally sane siblings, then home means a whole lot different, doesn't it? You'll have stories of such warmth of growing up in a home like that. I think of a home like that and I hear this quote from Hugh Jackman. He says, "When I come home, my daughter will run to the door and give me a big hug, and everything that's happened that day just melts away." Everyone has stories of growing up in a home like that. But the truth this morning is, despite the health of your home, as it is or as it was, we all know deep down what it is to be home, what a home could be, and what home should be. I think it's something that God etched onto our very souls at the moments of creation. Home, where you experience a deep sense of belonging and safety, protection from the world despite the jumping on the beds. There's some safety in that. Home is where you are loved irrationally, accepted unconditionally and totally. Home is where you are completely sure that everyone is for you. In every way, every day, in every circumstance of your life. That's home. These are powerful human yearnings, aren't they? Go very deep into the core of who we are. That's home. Well, the first thing I want to say, a bit of an aside, is this. If God has graced your life, if God has given you a spouse who loves you, or kids who love you, and maybe even grandkids who exhaust you, if God has given you these people in your home, then take a moment right now today to thank God for that circle of people who make up home. And then while you're still on your knees, ask God for additional wisdom and courage to create the home, to build it, to bring to it the richest sense of home you possibly can with all the days that remain in your one and only life. Ask God for that. Fill your home. Ask Him to help you fill your home with ridiculous levels of belonging, irrational amounts of love, total acceptance and embrace, forgiveness and grace. Ask Him to help you fill this house and the home with the absolute greatest possible sense of everybody being for everybody else, cheering everybody on through the challenges of life. And in so doing, you gift every person in your home with the greatest treasure that money can't buy, a treasure that will pay dividend and interest for generations to come. Christmas. But what if there is brokenness in a home? Christmas is that time, I want to say to you, the perfect time to reach a hand across a divide and to say, I'm sorry. To ask, can we reconcile? Can we try this again? Christmas time is the time for reconciliations. I've seen it time and time again, year after year. I've seen families knitted back together, relationships recommenced. I've seen feuds ended at Christmas time. So I want to ask you, if there is reconciliation to be made in your home this morning, I want to ask you to try again. To be the one who holds out the first hand. To be the first one to offer the I'm sorry. To be the first one to pick up the phone, to send a text, compose an email, to reach out with reconciliation this Christmas. Because you'll be amazed at the things God will do. Now, having said that, I want to go back to what we've been talking about in the last few weeks. And if you haven't been here, that's okay. You can go back and watch the YouTube playlist, The Promise of Christmas, the names of Jesus. But in this prophecy that we've been looking at, words spoken 600 years ago, 600 years before Jesus was born, from Isaiah, he says, "For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Now, I would love to talk politics this morning. This being the year for the most hyped up politics that I've seen in my lifetime. Do you agree? It's been a bit of a crazy year, hasn't it? You know, in the last 4 weeks, we've looked at what it means for Jesus to be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. And I want to talk about the government on his shoulders. So I could talk about politics, but that's not what the text is about. That's not what the words mean. Actually, the words we've talked about, government is the word Sarah. Isn't that interesting? So Sarah can be on somebody's shoulders. And we could have done that as a sermon illustration. The government on his shoulder. Now, this phrase, if you do a bit of a word study, this phrase forms the end of a marriage ceremony. Isn't that interesting? So it's part of the marriage ceremony. The bride would remove her veil, exposing who she is to the husband-to-be. And the husband would take the veil and he would throw it over his shoulder and he would say, "The government is on my shoulders." And what he means is this: the responsibility for the maintenance of this relationship is on me. The responsibility for the maintenance of this marriage is on me. All through Scripture, we see this picture of God being married to people. This text says the relationship between people and God is on Him, not us. It's on Him. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that a load off your mind? Sometimes I think we have to do this or do that, or we have to stand up for this cause or stand up for that meaning. But the government of the relationship is on his shoulders. In John 1:14, the birth of Jesus is described, the Word became flesh and made his home among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Jesus grew up, died on a cross, rose to life again, and ascended to heaven to take responsibility for the relationship between him, God, and us. The government of our relationship is on his shoulders. That the Christmas child, the one in the stable, grows up and makes it possible for anyone and everyone on the planet to have home with God the Father. To have that deep sense of belonging with God. To have that deep understanding of the irrational amount of love coming from heaven for you. Unconditional acceptance for you. Total forgiveness for you. Coming from the one who took it upon his shoulders to make it right. This unconditional acceptance of humanity changed so much. When you know that you are absolutely loved, absolutely accepted for who you are, it changes the way you view yourself. It changes the way you view your most close relationships, and it changes the way you view humanity and the rest of humanity. It reduces the fears and the anxieties of your life. It increases the joy you experience. It truly changed civilization. It truly changed the way the world looked at itself, its relationship with God, its relationship with the universe. It changed so much. It's no wonder our calendars were changed to reflect the birth of this incredible, incredible child, the Son of God. So we understand what happened, see, which is what Isaiah is talking about. Behold, a great light has come. This is the great light of humanity. This changed relationship, the relationship with God that sits on his shoulders, not ours. So this morning, in response, I'm going to invite you to come and to light a candle, signifying two things. First, to signify your own acceptance of that truth, that you are home with God. To remember again this morning that you are home, absolutely accepted, absolutely loved, totally offered forgiveness. The most ideal home you could ever possibly imagine is in Jesus and with Jesus. So I'm going to invite you to come and to take a candle and to light it in remembrance of the light that you have been given this Christmas. And then it also signifies the fact that that light changes the world around us. If I was to have every light in this room turned off, which we can't do because, exit signs and whatever, you could see that just one candle in this room radically transforms the whole thing. This room is completely sealed, and if you did turn off all the lights, it would be black as black. There is no light. One candle, though, changes everything. And I don't know what situation you are walking back into. I don't know where you're going for lunch. I don't know where you're going to be next year. I don't know what you face. I don't know what relationships you struggle with. But this time, I invite you to respond by coming and taking the light, accepting it for yourself, and then knowing that you carry that truth and that light into whatever you face next year. So, as we're going to play a video screen, I invite you to come, to take a candle, to light a candle, to remember, and to carry, not leave the candle here, don't physically carry the candle, but carry that understanding with you into whatever you face next year. Let's do that.